I mean, it certainly looked scary. There was no question about that. The purple mass looked like a series of living spears, or maybe a collection of spikes. It was hard to tell because of the way it pulsated and how dimly lit this alleyway was. Whatever it was, I was facing the business end of a very dangerous piece of projection magics. The man controlling it seemed more nervous than I was. Don't scream, lady, he said. He was visibly shaking, although whether it was from anxiety or because the magics was difficult to maintain, I couldn't tell. Either way, I had no intention of yelling. I have no intention of yelling, I said. His furrowed brow softened for a moment. He almost seemed to pull back internally before remembering what he was trying to do here. Can I ask why you have a... I'm sorry, I don't really know what this is, I said, starting to point at his projection magics, and it came alive. It closed what little distance there was between us in a second, before he even spoke a word. Well, that was surprising. Sorry, I wasn't thinking, I said, as he barked, Don't you... Do not move, okay? Okay, I'm not moving, I said, complying. That explained the strange construction of the magics. It wasn't projection magics at all. But I have to ask, I started. Does it have a name? What? He seemed genuinely confused. Your friend, the... I'm sorry, I don't want to insult it, but I've never seen one like this before. I tilted my head slightly, gesturing towards the entity. Is it a family companion, or... Stop talking, he said. I'm honestly surprised this is going so poorly. I know that building rapport is an important part of de-escalation, but it's not working for some reason. Hand over your coin, he breathed out the words, and I have a sneaking suspicion that he's never said that to anyone before. Or your life. I paused for a moment and opened my mouth, then closed it. I looked at the entity, started to reach into my coin purse, and then looked at the man again. I'm sorry, I'm just feeling conflicted about something, I said. The man says, What are you even talking about? I'm robbing you, you idiot. Why is that so hard to... No, yes, that's very clear, courtesy of your friend here. I think... No, never mind. His eyes scanned me with a kind of mad panic, like he was annoyed I was putting him through this. You're right. This isn't the time to share. We're in the middle of something. Oh, that was a good one, Anna. Using we statements to create a joint narrative. I knew all those de-escalation lessons would come in handy someday. The man looks around in disbelief and says, Share what? Okay, I mean, he's legitimately asking. It's out of my hands at this point. He has a spear spike thing. It would be foolish to argue with him on this. It's just that phrase you used. When you said, hand over your coin or your life, I said. Yeah, he said. It's just, I don't think you're saying that correctly, I say to him, and I start to regret my decision as his face turns red. I want to be clear, I did understand what you meant. I just don't think that's the correct use of that term because, I mean, it's not like I could physically hand you. The entity lunges forward and starts wrapping itself around my neck. Business end, ends, always facing me. It looks like I may have overshot my attempt at rapport building. I'd figured drawing attention to how silly he sounded would have conveyed that I meant no offense. Do you understand what this is? He said. He waved his hands back and forth between the two of us. I don't... Tell me you know what's happening, he said. You're robbing me, yes? I let the question hang in the air. I was absolutely willing to be wrong about this, but I felt fairly certain that this was the case. He sighed again. He seemed to do that a lot. He nodded and said, Okay, so give me everything you have. One of his hands was outstretched, controlling his entity, so he used his other hand to motion towards himself. I didn't move, and we stared at each other for a few seconds. There was that look of confusion again. Hello? He said. Yes, hello, I responded. I didn't want to seem rude. What are you doing? He said. It was less of a question and more of a statement. Oh, I don't have anything to hand over, I said. I'm surprised you didn't ask that first. Okay, he started. So, you just don't have anything at all? It felt like he was negotiating on my behalf, which seemed odd to me considering he was the one who stood to gain something for all this. I'm sorry, I don't really have anything you'd be interested in, I think. Do you like snacks? I have a bag of herbs in my pocket. Fascinating little treat. Did you know? I said, but he interrupted me again. Are you serious? No, stop talking. He seemed less angry and more frustrated at this point, which seemed like a de-escalation to me, which was perfect, because I had something I wanted to say that wasn't about de-escalating and more of a general question. Do you get a lot from doing this? I asked. What? You're, he started. It's just, I have to imagine most of the people in this town are pretty poor. I feel like you wouldn't get much out of them either, I said. This can't be the best way to do this. His eyes went wide. He seemed almost in shock. It was a genuine question. I hope he realized that. I started to follow up, asking how much he earned on an average day when he clenched his hand and pulled it towards him slightly. The entity moved in time with his motion, creating a sort of vibration on the ground. Is this funny to you? No, I was just, do I look like a joke to you? Is that it? I'm sorry, I just thought you think I'm a joke. You think this is funny. Delroy, I do not think you're a joke. I was trying to, you think this is a game? You think I won't hurt you? No, I believe that you're capable. You need to learn when to be quiet. You talk. He stopped. His head tilted slightly, and he almost seemed to lean in when he asked, wait, what? Finally, a chance to explain myself. I was just saying that this kind of activity can't be, I started. No, did you say my name? Ah, well, that is unfortunate, isn't it? Oh, okay, that's not, I said, but I wasn't sure how to de-escalate from something like this. Suddenly, the entity went from a series of spikes to an uncrashed wave. Still spiky, of course, but significantly taller. I got the sense that he was trying to intimidate me. I'm getting the sense that you're trying to intimidate me, I told him. I'd had my hands up to show him I meant no harm, but it was getting a bit uncomfortable, so I put them down. I'm sorry if I upset you, but I don't think that's... Why? He yelled. That wasn't good. He was going to attract passers-by if he kept causing a scene. I think we both just need to calm. I immediately regretted it when I said it. When has telling an agitated person to calm down ever actually helped anything? Why did you say my name? The entity was getting larger and larger, and the bigger it got, the more I could see it almost coiling. I would be more interested in how this entity worked if I didn't hear someone behind me yelling, "Hey, what's going on over there?" I immediately turned around to deal with the issue. I managed to yell back, "It's okay, we're just joking around," before the entity struck. It descended on me in an instant. The man in the distance turned and ran after he saw what happened, and I don't blame him. Frankly, it was the right thing to do unless he thought he could help. Maybe he was running to get help? It didn't really matter at this point. The entity bubbled over the space that I had once occupied, more of a writhing mass of flesh than a weapon. The would-be thief looked at the spot where I used to be and seemed to realize what he'd done. He dropped his arm, and the entity evaporated back into other space as Delroy collapsed to the ground. He seemed in shock at first, then he looked around frantically. He must have been worried that someone was coming because he ran off, deeper into the alley behind him. I was surprised that he didn't check to see if I was all right. He must have assumed I'd been eaten or crushed by his pet weapon. I'm not sure why he would think that, but it didn't really matter at this point. In his mind, he'd killed someone, in a crime of passion, no less. I'd assumed he'd be paralyzed with guilt over what he'd done, but he just ran away. And if he was willing to do that to me, he was willing to do that to anyone. I stepped out of other space and sighed. I'd followed him for a few weeks now, and he had seemed like one of my most promising prospects. He hadn't hurt anyone yet, and he spent hours working up the courage to rob anyone. It was almost sweet some days. He seemed so conflicted. But it looked like my mother was proven right again, because of course she was. I thought about whether or not I had forced the issue here. I figured that speaking to someone without fear, who treated him like a normal person, would help him realize how ridiculous all of this was. But he'd meant to hurt someone, for no reason at all, so I think that settles it. Oddly enough, I started thinking about his sister, Elivra. She always looked lighter after he came over. He always said he had just bought too much when he dropped things off, which I thought was very kind of him to say. I wondered if she would send little Clara to check on him. Elivra was far too frail to make that journey, and Delroy lived so deep underground. Plus, Clara was a big girl now. She could walk into town during the day. She was a sharp kid. Besides, everyone said the city was much safer these days. I suppose it's not really any of my business at the end of the day. I was free until tonight, and I had a few hours to fill. Oh, maybe I should check on Shanton. He was an interesting one. He's probably drinking by now, the rascal. I have no idea how he's able to function with all that poison in his system. As I walked out into the street, I noticed it had gotten much brighter out here while I'd been in the alleyway. It was such a beautiful sunny day. I love the warmth of the sun, you know? There's just something about it. The simple pleasures are usually the best, if you ask me.